Martha Elaine Baker Garrett, 65. The trail begins with a pharmacy wall clock ticking relentlessly for 46 years, long enough to suspect even the most regimented routines might suddenly veer off a cliff. 3 co-workers from McCready Pharmacy described her using identical phrases like they'd rehearsed answers. Mrs. Kelly, a pharmacist with House MD-level diagnostic instincts, wiped her glasses with a tissue. Forgive the tears. Martha never took sick days, not even with 100-ton fever. She'd check Advil expiration dates at midnight, you understand? Her hand trembled, leaving smeared streaks on the lens. Neighbor Janice Farley, an owl-faced widow, was planting geraniums beneath Martha's window when she returned clutching a Goodwill bag. "Bought a pink windbreaker like teenagers wear," Janice snorted, stabbing her trowel into dirt harder than necessary. Martha immediately explained, "Greg stained my last blue one with motor oil." But the old woman later noticed, that pink jacket wasn't listed among items recovered after the disappearance. The Moose Antler bar ledger contained an entry. April 12th, MB, whiskey, cash. Bartender Ted Dalton, rolling up his sleeve to reveal a Louise tattoo, sighed. She always said Jack Daniels is for fair-weather friends. That night she bought a bottle without even unwrapping it. His fingers kept fidgeting with a corkscrew. Too restless for someone recounting a simple transaction, Greg Garrett himself, a carpenter with $500K in Bank of America savings, served me peach-scented tea in his mobile home. Elaine's a Swiss watch, not a woman. Filed divorce papers on our anniversary exact to the minute. Behind him sat a porcelain cake topper bride from 1982. My last frame before leaving, his shaking hand adjusting a photo frame displaying Louise instead of Martha. 5 critical details remained in the first week's case file. 1. Her closet held 7 identical blue windbreakers. The pink one with April 14th receipt surfaced weeks later, in a Greyhound station dumpster. 2. A printed Nashville bus schedule hung above her desk. The driver later recalled a backpack woman asking thrice, "You're sure there's no stop near Centennial Park?" 3. In her 2019 planner, the year she won mayor's commendation, red ink stated, "Less they know about L. Better neighbors sleep." 4. Physical therapist Clint Woodard produced cancellation records. No show April 14th. Voice on the phone sounded muffled, like she cupped the receiver. 5. Behind surgical masks in her pharmacy locker, they found an envelope labeled, "Open upon my death." Inside, a photocopy of Greg's life insurance policy and a safe combination he'd forgotten. Basic detective logic. If someone updates their will 6 times but never alters a decades-old walking route, vanishing voluntarily isn't plausible. Too many escape hatches to just wade into some river. Too many pressure points to miss the knife at your throat. The chapter's conclusion crystallized when librarian Moira Steele recalled, "That last Thursday, Martha checked out a Texas travel guide instead of mystery novels. Used whiteout on some map coordinates. Said it was for crossword clues. But the central mystery remained on Martha's kitchen table, 2 coffee cup rings staining a napkin. She always drank her coffee alone. The morning of April 14th began with 4 sheets of paper neatly arranged on the kitchen table. Insurance policies from 1998, 2008, 2015, and 2022. Martha reviewed them monthly. A ritual co-workers called her insurance obsession. But this time, the pencil marks differed. Payout amount, underlined in the 2022 policy listing Greg as sole beneficiary. The margin bore 3 exclamation points carved so deeply the paper tore. At 10:17 a.m., security cameras at Second Chance Sisters thrift store captured Martha at the outerwear rack. Clerk Lucy Applegate later described uncharacteristic behavior. She grabbed a pink windbreaker, size medium. Always wore large, said it was for her niece. At checkout, Martha paid with crisp $20 bills. Odd given her pension direct deposits and usual wallet full of crumpled cash. That evening, Janice Farley watered geraniums beneath Martha's window when she heard shouting. "Stop lying!" The voice cracked unnaturally high, like through clenched teeth. The neighborhood's perennial complainer suddenly sounded urgent. I logged the time, 7:30 p.m. sharp. Then Greg peered out red-eyed, said they'd watched a horror flick. His story crumbled under scrutiny. Netflix records showed their account streaming only children's cartoons. Peppa Pig. That night. The Morris family downstairs reported strange water sounds after dark. Gurgling like a filling bathtub for 2 hours straight. We knocked, but Elaine didn't answer, Mrs. Morris testified while scrubbing her son's jeans. Investigators uncovered absurdity. April 14th water bills showed 50% lower usage than average. Either the tub never filled, or someone drained water back into pipes. Morning of the 15th left 2 dissonant clues. First, twin coffee rings on a Van Gogh's Starry Night napkin. Martha only drank from a chipped blue mug, yet these stains matched 2 cups, her usual and one from Louise's china set stored in an attic box. Second mystery. A wall calendar ripped clean at the April 15 perforation, though Martha religiously used scissors. Torn fragments surfaced weeks later in a neighbor's trash bin frequented by stray cats. No prints, just a folded corner inked 8:45 a.m. The backpack inspection raised more questions. Instead of her hiking staples, flashlight, map, water bottle, it contained Louise's 2013-2015 diary missing pages coinciding with Greg's visits, a half-liter bottle of Jack Daniel's single-barrel whiskey wrapped in plastic, an envelope holding a First Tennessee Bank safe deposit key Greg claimed no knowledge of. Their conversations played like amateur theater. Greg scratched his neck beneath his collar. Whiskey? She hated my bourbon habit. Bartender Ted recalled clearer details. She demanded our priciest bottle. I joked, celebrating something? She threw cash and bolted like hell's hounds were after her. Neighbor girl Emily noticed anomalies returning from dance class. Aunt Martha's lights blazed everywhere. She always turned lamps off by 9. Power consumption logs contradicted this. Home automation shut off between 10 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. Rookie detectives suggested flight. Veteran Detective Harlow spotted the tell. Martha took her orthopedic inserts but left them in sneakers by the river trail. She walked that path 10 years, knew every stone, forgetting those like you'd forget dentures. By midnight, fragments coalesced. 1. Someone shared coffee with Martha on the 15th using her dead sister's cup, too. The stop lying scream targeted a provable fact. 3. The backpack contents, safe key, diary, were meant for someone's hands. The quietest question came from pharmacy janitor Malcolm. Why buy a new windbreaker when her closet held 6, unless she needed cameras to see someone else? The final clue surfaced days later, a sticky note in her recipe binder. Tell TW, 15th is final deadline. Initials didn't match physical therapist Clint Woodward. The only TW nearby, bus driver Theodore Wells, whose route passed Riverside Park at 8:45 a.m. The morning of April 15th cloaked the town in thick, clinging fog. Martha's fitness tracker had started counting steps at 7:30 a.m., right on schedule. But the numbers told a different story. The first 17 minutes showed a smooth pattern. Warm-up near her house, a turn toward the park. At 7:47 a.m., her speed abruptly dropped to 2 km/h, as if she'd suddenly remembered her doctor's orders to avoid running. These aren't her steps, Detective Harlow muttered grimly, comparing the data to her past jogs. On the screen, 2 graphs diverged like split paths, her usual steady line versus that morning's jagged zigzags, with speed dropping every 60 feet. She kept stopping or hiding. See this 30-second gap by the bench? Security footage at the park entrance caught a flash of pink sleeve between trees. A woman walked with a backpack clutched to her chest. Bartender Ted, called in for identification, squinted. Gaits like Martha's, but legs dragging. She always walked brisk, back straight. Veteran runner Jacob Hill, who crossed paths with Martha daily, noticed a key detail. She was shuffling like someone tailing her. At the river bend, she glanced over her shoulder twice, figured maybe a creep was lurking. A fisherman by the bridge backed him up. Heard gravel crunching, 2 sets of steps, but only saw her. The sneakers turned up at 11:03 a.m. by a bluffed shoreline. Skechers with yellow insoles, faded from washing, stood neatly aligned, as if removed to keep clean. Not her style, pharmacy courier Sam shook her head. She'd always kick her shoes off haphazard in the hallway. Detective Harlow rubbed the soles. Fresh clay mud, but the bank's dry here. Someone dunked these on purpose. Tracks led to the water, vanishing under an old willow. Divers spent 3 hours sifting silt, recovering only rusted chains and broken bottles. No blood, the forensics tech shrugged. But clay mixed with concrete dust, like from the construction zone near the train depot. The pink windbreaker surfaced in reports by noon. A convenience store camera 2 miles from the park captured a woman in a matching jacket, the exact shade Martha had bought the day she vanished. Clerk Molly Brown didn't recognize her. Hood up, hands in pockets, bought gum, tossed change without counting. Harlow cross-checked sizes. At the thrift store, Martha had taken a medium, though she typically wore large. Niece, she said. Greg's brother died single. Louise had no kids. Who was she lying to? By evening, an absurd timeline emerged. The medical examiner jabbed the map. At 2 mph, park to store takes an hour, but Martha's tracker died at 8:15 a.m. and the camera spotted her there at 8:40 a.m. Either her watch glitched or he trailed off. Everyone knew. She'd covered part of the distance faster. Public transit? Harlow flipped through schedules. The 45 bus passes those stops at 8:20 a.m. Bus driver Rita Jessup frowned. Not sure. Someone in that jacket? Nah, shorter, wearing a cap. Bought a ticket to Nashville. At nightfall, Harlow returned to the shore. His flashlight carved a trench in the clay, a heel mark. Not Martha. She wore sneakers, he muttered, scooping samples. The patrol car radio crackled. No signs of foul play. Search ongoing. The final realization hit like a jolt. He called Greg. Your wife bought a medium windbreaker. Who'd fit that? Silence hung heavy. Then, Louise. Before the divorce, we bought her that coat. Medium was her size. 14 voices formed a discordant chorus where every note lied. Lieutenant Harlow spread the witness statements across Martha's kitchen table, covering decades-old coffee stains. Greg perched on the couch edge, twisting a chipped World's Best Husband mug, Martha's silver anniversary gift she'd somehow never thrown out. Insurance? That woman was paranoid about fires. Greg's finger traced patterns on the vinyl couch. She insisted we get it, said, if the roof caves in, we won't be left with nothing. His palm twitched when Harlow asked about the safe. Password being her birthday? Can't recall. Maybe Louise's. The policy actually carried a $500K payout, only for undetermined deaths. The safe contained Louise's 2014 IOU, borrowed $18K from Martha to repay after car sale. Louise totaled the car a month later. The oxycodone bottle from the first aid kit turned Greg ashen. That's her prescription. Yet your fingerprints are on it. Harlow spun the vial before his eyes. I straightened up the kit after she left. Everything was knocked sideways. Ted wiped glasses with a rag smelling of rotting fish. His testimony broke when the restroom phone rang. She asked about Greyhound buses to Nashville, TN last week. Wondered if the depot had security cameras. Paid cash. With those $20 bills featuring women's portraits, Martha always carried those. Identical bills were later found in Greg's wallet. Second-hand store clerk Molly squinted at the pink windbreaker photo. Bought it Wednesday, said it was for her niece. Yeah, she wore a scarf covering her neck. Voice sounded raspy. Tripped on the doorstep leaving. Thought clumsy much? Martha knew every inch of that store's layout. She never stumbled. Janice Walters, 82, pointed to her hearing aid. They were screaming the night of the 14th. Martha yelled, "Stop lying." He shouted, "You confused everything." Then a crash, like a chair falling. Greg claims they were watching an action movie. Must have been method actors. 3 clear stop it, was followed by a pillow slap. Crime scene report. Couch leg broken. Parquet dent, suggesting a high heel strike. Lori, Martha's co-worker, picked at her lab coat hem. Oxycodone prescription from Dr. Blake. But his signature, see how the K loops like Martha's? She'd forge it when he vacationed. Your prints are on the bottle? I spot-checked prescriptions before her leave. Martha demanded accuracy. Prescription dating proved the form was issued after Dr. Blake's fatal heart attack. The day's final piece arrived. A church answering machine tape. Metallic echoes distorted a woman's voice. They'll find me before you do. Timestamp, April 15th, 6:17 a.m. Greg disassembled his phone solitaire while listening. That's not Martha. She lisped her R's post-2020 stroke. Credit card records revealed an anomaly. $87 whiskey charge at Moosehead Tavern on April 14th. But Ted swore. She only came on the 12th. Said, open this bottle when it's over. Receipts proved the payment went through Greg's card reader while he was being interrogated. Harlow's theory, red pencil notebook scrawl. Either Greg staged disappearance while faking alibi via card terminal, or Martha faked exit using Louise, pink jacket her size. But why Oxy with Greg's fresh prints? Key, who wanted Louise's IOU destroyed? Only he gained from sister's death. Shutters banged as Harlow studied the kitchen floor stain. Rapid test showed it wasn't blood. Blueberry juice, the lab tech smirked. But Martha had despised berries since childhood food poisoning. The calendar page from April 15th was found in a trash bin outside 14 Maple Street, 3 blocks from the park. Old Mrs. Merrill, taking out her garbage bags, swore. We never had a calendar that color. The date square was torn at the bottom, like someone ripped it off in haste. A lab tech turned on a UV light on a hunch. Letters emerged like scars. 8:45 a.m. Greyhound, and the formula C18H1204 written in gel ink. The pharmacist from McCready's, a balding man with a mole on his chin, jabbed at the formula with a trembling finger. Ethoxydone, oxycodone analog meant for disposal after expiration. We haven't stocked it since 2018. Could Martha have brewed this solution? Theoretically, yes. If she'd gotten powder from a defective batch. She did inventory checks 3 times a month. The signatures on the calendar page and Louise's receipt matched down to the millimeter. The handwriting expert fidgeted. Daughters of twins sometimes mirror signature patterns, or it's a stencil. But where would Martha learn to forge like this? An X-ray of the bag found at Nashville, TN bus terminal revealed a film roll inside a turkey breast. While the tech joked about the find, Detective Harlow traced the packaging label. Code AZ44 turned out to mean unauthorized disposal. The butcher shop manager flipped through invoices. McCready's? Yeah, we took their disposal boxes. Pharmaceuticals first, then meat. Too lazy to wash them separate? The body never surfaced. Greg, wearing a battered Stetson, kicked the archive wall. So I hoped for nothing? Harlow stayed silent, flipping through case files. A March photo showed Martha outside the pharmacy holding an envelope. The same one that yielded a Greyhound ticket receipt a week later. Vologtsev, the terminal janitor, swallowed hard before answering. Old lady in pink? Walked backward out of the camera view. The 10:15 a.m. to El Paso was boarding. Ticket records showed purchases through McCready's terminal using employee discounts. Customer listed as L. Garrett. Harlow called the state crime lab. What happens mixing ethoxydone with whiskey? You get a laxative with intoxicating effects. River remains were male. Martha, according to Greyhound's facial recognition, visited Nashville every 15th. But cameras only caught black peacoats and scarves. The case closed April 20th. In Martha's empty house, wind flipped the calendar. The May page showed pen marks. Where 9 should be, bold black letters declared, Louise will return.